This is a video tutorial on how to use masking in Sony Vegas 8. And what I usually like to do when I'm making one for video is to start with a blank slate and a new project so that you don't have to worry about other clips getting in the way or anything like that. So import your media. The first clip I've chosen is Tall Tales from Supernatural. And you can delete the audio because you're not going to use it anyway. So get rid of that. And then find what spot you're going to use. And right there looks about good. So find what frame you're going to start at. Then you can cut and get rid of the rest of the episode because you're really only going to use like 1-2 seconds tops, because the longer the clip you choose, the harder it's going to be to make it look good. Get rid of the rest of that. And then bring it back to the beginning. And then what I usually do is I go to Video, Event, Pan, Crop, and then under Maintain Aspect Ratio, choose No, so that way when you save it you won't have those black bars in the top and the bottom. And then choose your second clip, and I've chosen Providence from Supernatural. That's the clip of Sam I'm going to use. And again, you can get rid of the audio because you're not going to need to worry about that anyway. And find your spot. And it's important when you're doing like kisses and stuff like that is to make sure that each clip is kind of like an opposite of the other one. Like think about where their heads are positioned, where like their noses are, like who's in front and who's going to be in back kind of. And the same goes for like the motion that they're doing. See, in both clips they're kissing and then they pull away a little bit. So it's easier if you do like the same motion and then like opposite directions and stuff like that, as if it were a real kiss, because that way it's easier to just cut the other person out and stick them together. And bring that back to the beginning. And one layer on top of the other. So 2 video tracks. It doesn't matter which one's on top because obviously you're going to be cutting them so that they are both visible. And maintain aspect ratio, no, so that there's no black bars. And then if you just take the opacity down a little bit, you can kind of see both at once. So you can match up the motion of the kiss. And then I usually like to slow them down both. So if you just hold down Control and then drag the clip out, that'll slow it down. And then just check to make sure things are happening at the same time. They both start to pull away at the same time. And you can adjust that, change that, have one clip start sooner, one be faster than the other or something. And then because Sam is in the same spot as Dean, you want to right click on him in the Event Pan Crop window and choose Flip Horizontally so that he's on the right and Dean is on the left. And then go back into Event Pan Crop. Then what you're going to do is you're going to rotate it because he's facing down kind of, and you want him to be at the same angle as the girl from Dean's clips. You want to rotate it until they're at about the same spot, and then push the box in to make him larger and pull the box out to make him smaller. So you want to just kind of play with the size and rotation and try and line him up with where the girl is in Dean's clip. And then you can use the opacity to go back and forth and check that. And you kind of just got to eyeball it and see. And you can change it later on too. If something doesn't look right, you can go back and make it bigger or smaller, rotate it more or less. But for now, just get a rough estimate of where he should be and how big his head should be. Then you're going to go back into Event Pan Crop under Sam's clip, and you'd go under the mask and click Enable. And then you go up and choose the Anchor Creation tool, and then you just go around and you can scroll up to zoom in and scroll out to zoom back out. And you just go in and you click along Sam. And if you want to make it a curved point, you click and drag it in the direction that you want the curve to go. So like around his nose, you would click and drag, and around his chin and stuff. So you just go around his whole face, clicking. And when you're masking, you want to outline the things that are going to stay in the picture. So if you want to get rid of her, you outline everything but her. If you want Sam to stay, you outline Sam's head. And then to connect it, you just click back on the same dot you started with, and then it'll highlight them all in yellow, and you can see that she gets dimmed out of the picture and you can see Sam down there. Then what I usually do is I go to Feather and choose both, and then up that to maybe 9 or 10, just so that it's a smoother edge. And then you can choose the normal edit tool and go through and correct anything. Because you feathered the edges on both sides of the mask, you can see like a white outline around him, and so it looks like you're cutting into his face in the preview box, but you're really not. You're just getting rid of some of that excess white around the edges. And then after you've done that, you can kind of see where you need to line him up. You can see the woman's face from Dean's clip, and you can see Sam's face, so you want to just kind of move it around so that they still match up to where they should be. And you can kind of see her nose coming through, but that's okay because you're going to line it up with his. And that looks alright for now. And then if you go about 3 or 4 frames in, you can start to see where the mask doesn't really fit anymore because the clip is moving and the mask doesn't move unless you change the keyframes to make it move. So 3 or 4 frames in, you need to go back, and with the normal edit tool, you need to reposition the vectors points so that they line up again. And you can move the shape of the mask as a whole, but because there's so many points and his face is moving so much, it's probably just easier to move the points individually because it's not always going to line up exactly so that you can drag the whole shape from frame to frame. And you can go back and preview and make sure the points are still lining up. And then go a few frames out again and do the same thing. Just keep dragging the points in so that they line up in the preview window. And it doesn't have to be exact because it's really hard to make it exact. You're always going to have a little space around the edges and stuff like that. But usually when I use them in videos,